Tensions are reportedly rising between Prince Andrew and King Charles over the Duke of York's deteriorating residence, Royal Lodge. King Charles is said to be pressuring his younger brother to vacate his 30-room Windsor mansion in favour of the more modest Frogmore Cottage, previously the UK home of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Prince Andrew was spotted looking strained during a horse ride near his Windsor home today, June 3, marking his first public appearance since reports emerged of the King's increasing pressure over the estate dispute. The Duke of York, 64, is believed to have a long lease on the Royal Lodge, but as King Charles is ultimately responsible for all royal household finances, he could potentially limit funds available to Andrew. This could potentially leaving him unable to cover the hefty annual maintenance costs of the Grade 2 listed property. The King also currently covers Andrew's £3 million yearly security bill, and it appears this ongoing feud shows no signs of resolution, reports The Mirror. Read below to learn more about Prince Andrew's property history. Long leased since 2004, Andrew has resided at Royal Lodge on the Windsor estate, which he now shares with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson. The Royal Lodge dates back to the mid-17th century, but it wasn't until the mid-1930s that it welcomed its first royal occupants. In 1931, it was gifted to George VI and the Queen Mother, then the Duke and Duchess of York, as a weekend retreat. The Queen Mother made several additions to the property, which also boasts a mini cottage or Wendy house named Wybodenbach, a gift to the late Queen, then Princess Elizabeth, in 1932. Even after the King's death in 1952, the Queen Mother continued to use it as a grace and favour home until her death there in March 2002, with daughter the late Queen at her side. After the Queen Mother's passing, Royal Lodge was leased to Prince Andrew. This included not just the main house, but also the gardener's cottage, the chapel lodge, 6 lodge cottages, police security accommodation and an impressive 40 hectares of land. Prince Andrew was responsible for any renovations, which reportedly cost around £7.5 million. In 2004, he moved into Royal Lodge with his 2 daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. Shortly after, his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson joined them after signing a 75-year lease. However, in recent years, Andrew has experienced a significant fall from grace due to his association with convicted pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. In 2019, following a disastrous interview on BBC Newsnight, Andrew was compelled to withdraw from public life. In 2022, he was left stunned when the late Queen stripped him of all his military titles and royal patronages, forbidding him from using His Royal Highness in any official capacity. A year on, rumours started to swirl that Charles wanted his brother to vacate and move into Frogmore Cottage, which had recently undergone renovations. Allegations surfaced that Andrew couldn't afford the £400,000 a year maintenance costs of the property, but he stood his ground. Stay of execution. However, earlier this year, it was hinted that Andrew had been granted a reprieve at the property following his ex-wife Fergie's cancer diagnosis. Fergie, who resides at Royal Lodge with Andrew, disclosed last year that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and early this year, she also revealed a skin cancer diagnosis. It was suggested that the King was considerate of this. The couple also share the residence with their 5 Norfolk Terriers and the late Queen's 2 corgis, Sandy and Mick. Crumbling home. Earlier this month, images surfaced showing Royal Lodge appearing to be deteriorating and urgently needing repairs. The photos depicted what appeared to be escalating cracks in the brickwork, as well as paint peeling off an exterior building. Recent photographs from this month reveal the deteriorating state of Royal Lodge, with moss growing on its structure and flaking paint. Scaffolding has been erected at the front of the residence, where a skip brimming with debris was also seen. Ramping up the tension, reports suggest that King Charles has intensified his efforts to persuade his brother to leave the property, allegedly cautioning Prince Andrew of grave repercussions should he remain. The Duke of York's reluctance to consider moving into Frogmore Cottage, recently vacated by Harry and Meghan, is reportedly irked Charles. The King's kindness is not without limit, and there is a very good option for Andrew to move into Frogmore Cottage, recently vacated by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, which also has the benefit of being within the Windsor Castle security cordon, hence reducing the need for alternative round-the-clock security for Royal Lodge. A royal insider disclosed to The Times. They further mentioned that Andrew is taking longer than desirable to recognize the reality of the situation. Despite this, Andrew appears unyielding. An associate of the Duke told the publication that he might dig in if the stalemate persists, noting that he has already benefited from a stay of execution due to Sarah Ferguson and the King's recent health issues. Could William and Kate stand to gain? The Times reports that insiders within the royal circle believe Fergie could persuade her former husband to see sense and downsize from his royal residence. But what would become of the estate if he were to vacate? The lease could potentially be sold back to the Crown Estate, who might then lease it to a private tenant. There's been chatter that it could become the new residence for the Prince and Princess of Wales. Currently, William, Kate and their 3 children reside in Adelaide Cottage in Windsor, which is less spacious than Royal Lodge. However, this speculation has been dismissed by esteemed royal historian Robert Hardman. The author of Charles III, The Inside Story, quoted an official stating that the move from Adelaide Cottage to Royal Lodge might happen, but it's not planned. His book suggests that William and Kate are extremely happy in their 4-bedroom cottage. They are there as a family with total privacy and without lots of staff, an official informed the author.